Take a trip back to the 1970s and relive the magic of a one-of-a-kind decade. From disco balls to bell-bottoms and cultural moments that left their mark, these memories defined childhood and shaped an era. Here are 20 things only kids from the 70s will truly understand. When Star Wars debuted in theaters in 1977, it didn't just premiere as a film, it became a cultural revolution. Created by George Lucas, this space opera transported audiences to a galaxy far, far away, filled with unforgettable characters like Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, and Darth Vader. The groundbreaking special effects, epic storytelling, and John Williams's iconic score captivated moviegoers of all ages. Fans lined up for hours to experience the movie in theaters, some returning multiple times to relive the magic. Beyond the film itself, Star Wars mania extended to every corner of pop culture. Action figures, lunchboxes, posters, and even bedsheets became must-have items. Kids acted out their own lightsaber battles, and phrases like, "May the Force be with you," became part of everyday language. Star Wars wasn't just a movie, it was a phenomenon that united people across generations and countries. Its impact on science fiction and the film industry was monumental, setting the stage for the blockbuster culture we know today. While the galaxy far, far away captured imaginations, back on Earth, people were making bold statements in another way, through fashion. Bell-bottoms and platform shoes ruled the scene, proving that style in the 70s was as daring as its pop culture. The 1970s will forever be synonymous with disco fever, a cultural phenomenon that brought music, dance, and fashion together in a dazzling explosion of energy. At the heart of this craze was the legendary film Saturday Night Fever, which catapulted disco music and dance culture into the mainstream. Suddenly, everyone wanted to hit the dance floor and boogie to hits by the Bee Gees, Donna Summer, and KC and the Sunshine Band. Disco clubs like Studio 54 became iconic hotspots, with their flashing dance floors, extravagant outfits, and of course, glittering disco balls spinning overhead. People dressed to impress, donning sequined outfits, shiny fabrics, and platform shoes that sparkled under the lights. The music was irresistible, with its steady beat, funky bass lines, and soaring vocals, encouraging even the shyest dancers to move. Disco wasn't just about dancing. It was an experience, a way to let loose and feel glamorous for a night. Though its popularity faded by the early 80s, disco's legacy lives on, reminding us of a time when the dance floor was the place to be. Fashion in the 1970s was anything but subtle. It was bold, unapologetic, and designed to turn heads. At the heart of this era's iconic style were bell-bottom jeans. These pants flared dramatically from the knees down, creating a flowing, almost theatrical look. Often paired with colorful patterns or fringe vests, they became a staple for anyone wanting to make a statement. Complementing these pants were platform shoes, which could easily add several inches to your height. These chunky, elevated shoes were both a fashion statement and a challenge. Walking without tripping became a skill. Bright colors, glitter, and even metallic finishes adorned platforms, making them impossible to ignore. Together, bell-bottoms and platform shoes reflected the free-spirited vibe of the 70s, where self-expression reigned supreme. They weren't just clothing, they were a declaration of individuality and confidence. Looking back, these fashion trends may seem eccentric, but they perfectly encapsulate an era where pushing boundaries was the norm and looking groovy was mandatory. Before streaming and on-demand TV became the norm, Saturday mornings were truly magical. Kids would wake up early, pour themselves a bowl of sugary cereal, think Frosted Flakes or Fruit Loops, and plop down in front of the TV. This wasn't just any TV time. It was a sacred ritual dedicated to hours of cartoon heaven. Shows like Scooby-Doo, The Jetsons, and Looney Tunes dominated the airwaves, providing endless laughter and adventures. What made it even more special was the simplicity of it all. There was no rewinding, pausing, or skipping ahead. If you missed an episode, you had to wait until it aired again. Families often had only one TV, so Saturday mornings were reserved exclusively for kids. Parents knew that this was your time. The colorful animation, catchy theme songs, and larger-than-life characters kept you glued to the screen. It wasn't just entertainment, it was a shared experience among kids everywhere. Those mornings remain a cherished memory, representing a time when life felt a bit more carefree and every cartoon brought joy. And while cartoons ruled the mornings, afternoons, and evenings often belonged to music, from spinning vinyl on record players to loading up 8-tracks for a road trip. The 70s were just as much about the soundtrack as they were about the visuals. The 1970s were a golden era for music enthusiasts, with vinyl records reigning supreme in homes across the world. Playing music was almost ceremonial. You'd carefully slide a record out of its sleeve, taking care not to smudge the grooves, and place it gently on the turntable. The satisfying crackle as the needle dropped onto the record was a prelude to the music that followed. Whether it was rock legends like Led Zeppelin or soulful icons like Marvin Gaye, vinyl brought music to life in a way nothing else could. For those on the move, the 8-track tape revolutionized how music was enjoyed during road trips. These chunky rectangular tapes were cutting-edge technology at the time, allowing people to take their favorite tunes wherever they went. While they lacked the elegance of vinyl and sometimes cut songs awkwardly between tracks, their portability made them a must-have. Can you imagine hearing your favorite album for the first time on a record player or 8-track? In the early 1970s, entertainment took a groundbreaking turn with the arrival of Pong, the first widely popular video game. Developed by Atari, Pong was deceptively simple: 2 paddles, a bouncing ball, and a race to outscore your opponent. Yet, its impact was revolutionary. For the first time, people could interact with their television in a completely new way, and it was addictively fun. Pong consoles became coveted household items, turning living rooms into makeshift arcades. Owning one instantly made you the coolest kid on the block. Friends and family would gather around the screen, cheering and laughing as they competed. It wasn't just a game, it was a social experience. Pong also paved the way for the video game industry, proving that digital entertainment had mass appeal. While its graphics and gameplay may seem primitive by today's standards, Pong's simplicity was its charm. It marked the dawn of a new era, forever changing how people engaged with technology and entertainment. When it comes to defining the look of the 1970s, nothing captures the essence of the era quite like lava lamps and beanbag chairs. Lava lamps were mesmerizing works of art, with colorful wax blobs rising and falling in liquid as they were heated. Placed in a dimly lit room, they created an entrancing, psychedelic atmosphere that fit perfectly with the decade's groovy aesthetic. Sitting right next to them was the iconic beanbag chair, a squishy, oversized cushion that offered ultimate relaxation. These chairs were all about comfort and fun, molding to your body no matter how you flopped onto them. Together, lava lamps and beanbag chairs became staples of 70s decor, reflecting the era's love for unconventional, laid-back vibes. They weren't just furniture, they were conversation starters and symbols of a culture that embraced creativity and individuality. Whether you were chilling with friends or listening to music, these items set the perfect mood for a decade that loved to push boundaries. And while lava lamps and beanbag chairs created the perfect vibe, Sesame Street brought just as much color and joy into living rooms, teaching kids lessons that would last a lifetime. Debuting in 1969 and thriving throughout the 1970s, Sesame Street revolutionized children's television. With its colorful characters, catchy songs, and educational content, it quickly became a beloved staple in households across America. Kids learned their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s alongside Big Bird, Oscar the Grouch, Cookie Monster, and the lovable Elmo. The show's innovative format combined live action, puppetry, and animation, keeping children engaged while teaching valuable lessons about kindness, diversity, and inclusion. Each episode was designed to entertain and educate, often addressing real-world topics like sharing, emotions, and problem-solving in a way that kids could understand. Sesame Street wasn't just a TV show, it was a movement. Its commitment to reaching underserved communities and making learning accessible for all children set it apart. Parents appreciated its positive influence, while kids simply loved spending time with their favorite Muppet friends. Decades later, Sesame Street remains an iconic part of childhood for millions, proving that its lessons and lovable characters are truly timeless. How would you cope if filling up your gas tank meant hours of waiting? The 1970s oil crisis introduced a level of inconvenience and frustration that modern generations can scarcely imagine. Due to rising fuel prices and shortages, gas stations became the site of long, winding lines, with drivers sometimes waiting for hours just to fill their tanks. To manage the demand, odd even rationing days were introduced, where license plate numbers determined when you could purchase gas. People adjusted their schedules and routines around these restrictions, and tempers often flared as patience wore thin. The crisis, sparked by geopolitical tensions and an embargo by oil-producing nations, highlighted the global dependency on fossil fuels and the fragility of energy supply chains. For many Americans, it was a wake-up call that forced them to consider more fuel-efficient cars and alternative energy sources. It also underscored the importance of energy conservation. While the sight of gas lines has mostly faded into history, the oil crisis remains a vivid reminder of how resource scarcity can disrupt everyday life and shape public policy. In the 1970s, making a phone call was a slower, more deliberate process thanks to rotary phones. These devices, with their circular dials, required users to insert a finger into the appropriate number slot, rotate the dial, and let it spin back to its starting position before dialing the next digit. If you made a mistake, there was no backspace button. You had to hang up and start over. It wasn't fast, but it got the job done. The rhythmic clicking sound of the dial and the firm, weighty feel of the handset were part of the charm. Rotary phones were often found in a single central location in the home, such as the kitchen, tethered to the wall by a long, curly cord. Conversations were more intentional, as there was no texting or quick communication to fall back on. While rotary phones might seem cumbersome by today's standards, they symbolize an era when communication was simpler and less rushed. For many, they evoke fond memories of a time when phone calls truly connected people. And just like those meaningful phone conversations brought people closer, so did the music of the era, especially hits like "We Are Family," which united everyone on the dance floor and beyond. Released in 1979, Sister Sledge's "We Are Family" became an anthem of unity, celebration, and positivity. With its infectious rhythm, uplifting lyrics, and feel-good disco vibe, the song brought people together on dance floors everywhere. Written by the legendary Nile Rodgers and Bernard Edwards of Chic, the track quickly rose to the top of the charts, becoming a symbol of the era's emphasis on love, togetherness, and fun. Beyond its success in clubs and on the radio, "We Are Family" resonated with people on a deeper level. It celebrated the idea of community and support, transcending its disco roots to become a universal message of solidarity. Whether it was played at weddings, parties, or sports events, the song never failed to bring smiles and encourage sing-alongs. Even decades later, "We Are Family" remains a timeless classic that captures the joyful spirit of the late 1970s. Its message of unity continues to inspire, proving that great music has the power to bring people together across generations. The mood ring craze of the 1970s was the perfect blend of fun, fashion, and pseudoscience. These rings featured a stone that changed colors based on the temperature of the wearer's hand, which was said to reflect their mood. Blue meant you were calm and relaxed. Green indicated balance, and black supposedly signaled stress. While the science behind mood rings wasn't exactly accurate, it didn't matter. They were just plain cool. With their sleek, mysterious look and promise of revealing your emotional state, mood rings quickly became a must-have accessory. They appealed to kids, teens, and even adults, adding a touch of magic and personality to any outfit. Mood rings weren't just jewelry. They were conversation starters, icebreakers, and a symbol of self-expression. Whether you believed in their mood-detecting powers or not, owning one was almost irresistible. Decades later, mood rings remain a nostalgic reminder of the 1970s, representing an era of playful trends and a fascination with all things mystical and fun. It may sound unbelievable, but in the 1970s, a rock in a box became one of the decade's most popular toys. The pet rock, created by advertising executive Gary Dahl, was a quirky and ingenious idea that turned an ordinary stone into a cultural phenomenon. Packaged in a cardboard box with air holes and accompanied by a humorous care manual, the pet rock promised all the benefits of pet ownership with none of the responsibilities. No feeding, no cleaning, no walks, just a rock. Priced at $3.95, it was a hit, especially as a gag gift. Dahl's clever marketing tapped into the decade's love for novelty and humor, making the pet rock a must-have item. Over 6 months, millions of pet rocks were sold, earning Dahl a fortune. While its popularity was short-lived, The pet rock became a symbol of how brilliant marketing can turn even the simplest idea into a cultural craze. Decades later, it remains a testament to the power of creativity and humor in capturing the public's imagination. While the pet rock brought humor and simplicity to the forefront, the 1970s also championed deeper lessons in individuality and acceptance with the groundbreaking project Free to Be, You and Me. In the 1970s, Free to Be, You and Me was a groundbreaking album and book that redefined children's media. Created by Marlo Thomas and a team of talented artists, the project was designed to teach kids about acceptance, gender equality, and self-expression. Featuring songs, poems, and stories, it tackled topics like breaking gender stereotypes, embracing diversity, and celebrating individuality. Tracks like William's Doll challenged traditional gender roles, while It's All Right to Cry encouraged boys to express their emotions. With contributions from stars like Alan Alda, Diana Ross, and Harry Belafonte, the project resonated with both children and adults, becoming a cultural milestone. Schools and families embraced its progressive messages, which were ahead of their time in promoting inclusivity and empathy. Decades later, Free to Be, You and Me remains a cherished classic, inspiring new generations with its timeless lessons. Its impact goes beyond entertainment, serving as a reminder of the power of media to shape minds and foster a more accepting and equal world. Before the age of smartphones and instant communication, payphones were a lifeline for staying connected while away from home. Scattered across towns, shopping malls, and gas stations, these coin-operated booths were a common sight. If you needed to make a quick call, you'd drop a few coins into the slot and dial the number. For emergencies, or when you were out of change, there was the option of making a collect call. This required the person on the receiving end to accept the charges, often leading to creative strategies to avoid costs, like quickly stating your message during the operator prompt, "Pick me up at 5." Payphones were more than just a convenience. They were symbols of an era when communication required a bit of planning and patience, waiting for your turn to use one, hoping it wasn't vandalized, and figuring out the right coins were all part of the experience. While payphones have mostly vanished, their memory endures as a snapshot of simpler yet more resourceful times. For kids growing up in the 1970s, Saturday mornings weren't just about cartoons. They were also about learning, thanks to Schoolhouse Rock. These animated musical shorts aired between shows, teaching valuable lessons on everything from grammar to history in a way that was both entertaining and unforgettable. Catchy songs like Conjunction Junction and I'm Just a Bill made topics like sentence structure and the legislative process fun and easy to understand. The secret to Schoolhouse Rock's success was its ability to blend education with entertainment seamlessly. The animations were simple yet engaging, while the songs were so catchy that they're still stuck in the heads of many today. Parents loved that their kids were learning, and kids didn't even realize they were being taught. It was a win-win. Decades later, Schoolhouse Rock remains a beloved cultural touchstone, with its songs and lessons still referenced in classrooms and pop culture. It's a testament to the power of creativity in making education accessible and enjoyable for all. Just as Schoolhouse Rock inspired a generation with its creativity, Keep on Truckin' stickers captured the laid-back, carefree spirit of the decade in a way that was impossible to miss. If there was ever a slogan that captured the carefree spirit of the 1970s, it was "Keep on Truckin'." Paired with funky cartoon-style artwork of a striding figure with exaggerated proportions, this phrase became an instant hit. It appeared on everything: bumper stickers, notebooks, posters, and even t-shirts. More than just a catchy saying, "Keep on Truckin'" became a mantra for perseverance, laid-back living, and the freewheeling attitude of the decade. It originated from a comic strip by artist R. Crumb, but its message quickly transcended its roots, resonating with anyone looking for a little motivation to roll with life's challenges. The funky art style and quirky vibe made it perfect for the counterculture movement, aligning with the 1970s love for self-expression. Whether you were a trucker on the road or a student in high school, this phrase reminded you to keep moving forward, no matter what. Today, it remains a nostalgic emblem of an era when optimism and individuality were celebrated with a playful wink. The 1970s were a time of fascination with space and the future, and no product captured this better than Tang, the powdered orange drink famously associated with NASA astronauts. Tang had been around since the 1950s, but it skyrocketed in popularity when it was used on early space missions. Suddenly, drinking Tang wasn't just about quenching your thirst, it was about embracing the space-age lifestyle. Kids loved its sweet, citrusy flavor, while parents appreciated its convenience and futuristic appeal. How would it feel to sip on something astronauts drank in space? Beyond Tang, space-age influences were everywhere, from sleek metallic decor to toys and gadgets inspired by rockets and planets. The excitement of space exploration permeated daily life. Television shows like Star Trek and real-life milestones like the Apollo missions fueled imaginations, making anything tied to space instantly cool. Tang became a symbol of this era, offering a taste of the future in a glass. Even today, its bright orange color and nostalgic flavor transport people back to a time when the possibilities of space felt endless and the future seemed just within reach. Primetime television in the 1970s was more than just entertainment. It was a cultural event. Shows like Charlie's Angels, Happy Days, and The Love Boat weren't just programs. They were weekly rituals that brought families together. Charlie's Angels introduced a new kind of TV heroine. Smart, capable, and stylish women solving crimes with confidence. Its trio of detectives became instant icons, inspiring fashion trends and even Halloween costumes. Meanwhile, Happy Days tapped into nostalgia with its wholesome depiction of the 1950s, featuring beloved characters like Richie Cunningham and the cool-as-ice Fonzie, whose catchphrase, "Aye!" became part of everyday slang. On the other hand, The Love Boat provided a weekly dose of escapism, with glamorous cruise ship adventures and guest stars galore. These shows didn't just entertain, they shaped conversations and trends, with millions tuning in every week. For many, these programs were the highlight of their evenings, offering laughter, drama, and relatable characters. Even today, they remain nostalgic reminders of a golden era in television history. We've arrived at the next part, but stay tuned. This one is something you don't want to miss. In the 1970s, waterbeds were the ultimate status symbol. Originally designed in the late 1960s as a therapeutic invention, they quickly became a cultural phenomenon, symbolizing luxury, relaxation, and a hint of rebellion. A waterbed wasn't just a place to sleep, it was an experience. The gentle waves created by your movements added an element of fun and novelty that traditional mattresses couldn't match. They became a fixture in the decade's trendy bedrooms, often paired with shag carpets, mood lighting, and mirrored ceilings for maximum grooviness. Despite their popularity, waterbeds weren't exactly practical. They required frequent maintenance, were prone to leaks, and weren't the best option for back support. Moving one was a logistical nightmare, thanks to their heavy, sloshing nature. But these drawbacks didn't deter their fans. For many, owning a waterbed was less about comfort and more about making a statement. Today, they're a quirky relic of the 70s, remembered fondly, or not so fondly, as part of an era that valued style and experimentation over practicality. I hope you enjoyed this look back at the 1970s. Which memories stood out to you? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe for more nostalgic journeys. Until next time.